Hey, welcome. Today we're diving into something pretty profound about being human. We're going to explore how the very fabric of our reality, our health, our performance, our general sense of well-being, isn't some fixed external thing that we just have to put up with. Nope. It's actually something we can shape, and it's all shaped by this invisible lens that we all wear. Scientists call it our mindset, and it's basically the master controller of our reality. Learning how to adjust it, well, that's one of the most powerful skills you can ever develop.
So let's kick things off with a question that honestly sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's grounded in some pretty stunning science. And the question is this: can a simple thought actually be as powerful as a drug? Can an expectation, just a belief you hold in your mind, have the same measurable physical effect on your body as a potent medication? Well, let's take a look at the evidence.
All right, so our first stop takes us to a post-surgery ward in Italy, where Dr. Fabrizio Benedetti was doing some groundbreaking work. He was studying patients who'd just gone through one of the most invasive procedures you can imagine, thoracic surgery. And what he found there, it was about to completely change how we understand the connection between our minds and our bodies.
Okay, so picture this. You have patients just waking up from general anesthesia. Their bodies are reeling from this major surgery where doctors have had to cut deep into their back and side muscles. As that anesthetic wears off, they get hit with this wave of just intense, predictable pain. The standard solution? A powerful dose of morphine, one of the strongest painkillers on the planet. It's a routine, almost mechanical process to help them manage their suffering.
Now, this is where Dr. Benedetti did something brilliant. He introduced this really subtle tweak to the whole procedure. He split the patients into two groups. Group A, they got their morphine the normal way. A doctor comes to their bedside, gives them the dose, and says something reassuring like, "This will help with the pain." Now, Group B got the exact same chemical, the exact same dose, but it came from a pre-programmed automated IV pump. No doctor, no conversation, no human telling them that a painkiller was on its way. The only thing that was different was the expectation.
So let me be crystal clear here. The chemical going into their bodies was identical. So, logically, both groups should have felt the same amount of relief. But they didn't, not even close. The group that knew they were getting the drug, the ones who expected it to work, they reported major, immediate drops in their pain levels. But the other group, the morphine's effect was blunted. And in some cases, it was almost completely useless. I mean, think about that for a second. Their bodies had this powerful opiate coursing through their veins, but their minds didn't have the expectation, and the mind won.
And this all leads us to the truly radical conclusion from Dr. Benedetti's work. His findings, which he later replicated in studies on everything from anxiety to Parkinson's, prove that our expectation isn't just some fluffy psychological bonus. It's not a nice-to-have side effect. It is, and I quote, an active pharmacological agent. It's an active ingredient. The belief in your mind can either supercharge or totally sabotage the most powerful chemicals we have. It is literally part of the medicine.
Okay, so if our expectations can act like a drug in a hospital, what about in our day-to-day lives? You might be thinking, this is just some medical curiosity that only happens in extreme situations. Well, it turns out that's not the case at all. Let's see how this plays out in the world of diet and exercise, where our beliefs, often totally unconscious, are constantly shaping our body's biochemistry.
Okay, you have to hear about this fascinating study from Harvard, led by Professor Ellen Langer. She looked at 84 hotel housekeepers. Now, these women were incredibly active. I mean, scrubbing floors, lifting heavy stuff, pushing carts up and down stairs all day long. By any objective measure, they were torching a ton of calories. And yet, when they were asked, a full 2/3 of them did not believe their work counted as exercise. Their mindset was, my job is just hard labor, not my job is a healthy workout. And that little distinction, it's everything.
So what happened next is just incredible. The researchers split the housekeepers into two groups. They gave one group a simple 15-minute presentation, basically just explaining that their daily work was actually fantastic exercise and easily met the Surgeon General's recommendations for staying active. The other group, the control group, they got nothing. And here's the kicker. Nobody was asked to change their behavior. They weren't told to work harder or eat differently or go to the gym. The only thing that changed was the mindset of one group. 4 weeks later, the results were astounding. The group whose mindset had been shifted showed a whole cascade of positive physical changes. I mean, as you can see right here, they lost weight, their blood pressure dropped, their body fat went down. Just by changing their belief about their work, they literally changed their bodies.
And this same idea applies to what we eat. There's another really clever study, this one from Yale, where researchers gave people the exact same 380-calorie milkshake on 2 different days. But they changed the story. On one day, the shake was presented as this decadent 620-calorie indulgent shake, a rich, satisfying treat. On the other day, it was framed as a virtuous 140-calorie Sensi shake, a responsible, light, healthy drink. Now remember, the liquid in the glass was identical. The only thing that was different was the mindset of the person drinking it.
So what happened? Well, this is a perfect window into the power of belief over our biochemistry. The researchers measured a hormone called ghrelin, which people often call the hunger hormone. When your ghrelin levels are high, your brain says, "Hey, I'm hungry." When the levels drop, your brain gets the signal that you're full and satisfied. And what they found was that when people believed they were drinking the indulgent, high-calorie shake, their ghrelin levels plummeted, telling their brains they were deeply satisfied. But when they drank the exact same shake, believing it was a sensible health drink, their ghrelin response was way flatter, leaving them feeling less full. Their body's hormonal reaction wasn't based on the calories they actually consumed. It was literally shaped by their mindset about those calories.
Okay, so we've seen how our mindset can change our physical response to medicine, exercise, and food. But what about when we face challenges? Stress and failure. How does it operate then? This is where the incredible work of Stanford psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck gives us this really powerful framework for understanding the 2 basic paths our minds can take.
Okay, so on the left, we've got the fixed mindset. This is the belief that our abilities, our intelligence, our creativity, our talents, they're just fixed traits. You either got it or you don't. From this point of view, failing isn't a chance to learn. It's a final verdict on your limitations. So what do? You avoid challenges. You don't apply for that promotion because you might not get it. Effort feels like a threat because if you were truly smart, you wouldn't need it. But then on the right, we have the growth mindset. This is the belief that our abilities can be developed through dedication, good strategies, and just plain effort. Here, failure isn't a judgment, it's just data. It's a chance to learn what didn't work. Challenges, they're seen as opportunities, the only way to actually get better. And effort, well, effort is the path to mastery.
So how does this all play out when the pressure is really on? Well, let's look at a study done right after the 2008 financial collapse, a time of unbelievable stress and uncertainty. Researchers took a group of super stressed employees in the financial world. They showed one group a short video that frames stress as enhancing, as a natural source of energy that gets your body ready for action and helps you rise to a challenge. They showed the other group a video that frames stress the way we usually do, as debilitating and draining, something that just breaks you down. The results were immediate. The people who were told that stress could actually be a good thing reported fewer negative health problems, less back pain, fewer headaches, less insomnia, and they actually performed better at work. They didn't get rid of the stress, but they changed their relationship to it, and that made all the difference.
Okay, so the evidence is pretty overwhelming. Mindsets matter. A lot. But the really crucial question is, how do we actually change them? I mean, if these are beliefs we've held for a long time, we can't just flip a switch, right? The process takes some intentional, strategic work. So let's step into the workshop. I want you to think of yourself as a kind of cognitive craftsman, someone who can intentionally shape their own lens on the world. And this is your toolkit. There are 3 core steps. First up is self-scrutiny. This means you have to become a detective of your own inner voice. When you face a setback, what's the first thing your mind says? I'm a failure? This is impossible? The key is to catch those thoughts and ask yourself, is that an inevitable fact? Or is it just one possible story I'm telling myself? Step 2 is the cognitive reframe. This is where you actively, consciously replace that limiting belief with a better one. I'm a failure becomes I'm learning. This is impossible becomes this is going to require a different strategy. And number 3, harness the ethical placebo. This is all about intentionally creating a positive expectation for yourself, just like that doctor did for the patient getting morphine. You're giving yourself the gift of a positive mindset. And how do you do that? Through preparation and rituals. When you prepare like crazy for a presentation, you're not just learning the material, you're sending a powerful signal to your brain that success is likely. When you create a simple ritual, like taking 2 minutes to just breathe before a tough conversation, you're building the expectation that you are in control and you're ready. You're building a narrative of competence.
But you know, the power of mindset isn't just about hacking our health or performing better under pressure. It goes so much deeper than that. It actually shapes the quality of our relationships, our ability to have integrity, and ultimately, our capacity to live a truly meaningful life. Let's explore how our mindset plays out in this really vital social and moral part of our lives.
I mean, our mindset even shapes how we see other people. Do you view them as competitors or as collaborators? A competitive mindset sees another person's success as a threat to your own. It's a zero-sum game. If they win, you lose. And that leads to this constant, exhausting cycle of comparison, envy, and feeling inadequate. But a convivial mindset? It sees the success of others as a collective good. It fosters genuine connection and shared joy because it understands that we're all in this thing together and a rising tide lifts all boats. It celebrates the unique talents of others instead of feeling threatened by them.
And finally, all of this really brings us to the idea of integrity. Integrity isn't just some abstract, boring virtue. It is a direct result of your mindset. A compromised mindset sees your values as negotiable, as things you can kind of bend depending on the situation. And yeah, that might lead to some external achievements, but on the inside they can feel hollow, unearned. But an uncompromising mindset on your core values, that isn't about being rigid or dogmatic. It's about having a clear sense of your internal compass and actually living by it, even when it's hard or inconvenient. This is the absolute foundation for long-term self-respect. When you choose not to cut corners, when you tell the truth when a lie would be easier, you're not just making an ethical choice. You are actively building your character, reinforcing an identity that leads to a truly deep and meaningful life, one you can actually be proud of.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? The lesson from that post-surgery ward, from the hotel hallways, and from the milkshake lab is all the same. Our reality is not something that just happens to us. It is something we actively create moment by moment through the lens of our mindset. The science is clear. We have this incredible capacity to heal, to perform, and to thrive. But it all starts with the stories we tell ourselves. When we choose to consciously craft our mindset, we are no longer just passive recipients of fate or victims of circumstance. We become the architects of our own reality. Change your mindset, and you can truly, truly change your life.